Michael Phelps never missed a training session in over 5 years, making him the most consistent athlete to ever train for the Olympics. Michael Phelps is also the best Olympian in history. If he were a country, he would be number 39 in the all-time Olympics gold medal table. He's won more medals than 161 countries in the world. This proves the link between success and consistency. By the end of the video, you're going to understand exactly how to achieve this, how to become as consistent and hopefully as successful as Michael Phelps in whatever it is that you're trying to do, but also what is the real reason that made Michael Phelps the best Olympian in history, and how can you do the same. Welcome back. Hey, I'm Leon Castillo, founder of Selfmastered. We're a high-performance training company that helps entrepreneurs scale their businesses by solving their silent bottleneck, their own performance. We transform the unproductive, overwhelming, and focused entrepreneurs into laser-focused business athletes that can achieve in one day what they previously achieved in 1 week. So today's video is about consistency, which is inarguably one of the hardest things to master. It is a very hard character trait to develop, but is unarguably one of the most important. Consistency is the ability to perform actions repeatedly without getting distracted or falling for shiny object syndromes or just changing directions. Everybody can be intense, can remain at something for a few hours, days, or even weeks just to fall back to their average performance. But consistency, the ability to do what you said you were going to do for a sufficiently long period of time to see incredible results, is something that takes time to develop. So how can you become consistent? It's all about nailing 3 things. 1, the strategy, what goals you're going after, the systems, the execution, what it is that you have to do every day, and then the performance, the behavior that you need to control in order to get that consistency. Let's start with the goals, right? In order to be consistent with something, you need to know what it is that you're trying to achieve. Where are you going? What is the actual goal that you are headed towards? And this is supremely important because without a goal, we cannot create the systems and the habits to perform. We need a goal that is meaningful to us. It has to be ours. We need to truly be in tune with that goal. Once you have that goal, then you create the systems, the protocols for execution, the habits, the routine, doesn't matter how you call it, that if performed consistently will lead you to that goal. You need the goal in order to understand what is the system that sits behind it. Let's say, for instance, that you want to increase sales for your business. Well, you'd better start doing outreach, telling people about your services or products in order to set up some sort of meeting that you can sell them on, right? If you do not do outreach, nobody will know that you have a business and you will not make sales. So the goal is to make sales and the system is doing outreach, whatever that outreach is. Conversely, if you want to get jacked, what do you think you need to do? You need to create systems for your nutrition and systems for your training. If you follow those 2 systems, you will get the results. Simple, right? But there's a third thing, which is where most people end up failing, which is their behavior. Having impulse control gives the ability to not fall for shiny object syndrome, to refrain from changing course in the middle of an action. So if you're not able to be consistent, it's because either you do not have a goal you intimately care about, or you're not clear on the systems that need to be followed in order to get that goal, or you lack impulse control. You change course, you get distracted, you fall for shiny object syndrome, you do not follow the system you set up to achieve that goal. If you nail these 3 things, you can become the Michael Phelps of your industry. Michael Phelps had a very clear goal in mind: be the best Olympian that has ever lived in swimming. And that was his overarching goal. And what was the system he needed to follow? Well, I mean, probably a lot of them, but the most famous were train 5 hours every single day and eat up to 7,000 calories to keep the energy expenditure up every day. He also needed to never miss a day, and he was so good at controlling his own behavior that he never deviated for 5 years in his quest towards Olympic excellence. Clear goal, clear systems, clear performance benchmarks. That's how you become consistent. Now, what is the real magic behind Michael Phelps? Why is so incredible what he has achieved? Well, Michael Phelps inherently understands the power of compound interest. I'm sure you've heard about compound interest in the context of money, right? So you have a principal that earns interest, that interest gets put back into the principal, which you earn interest on again, and over time, that grows very fast. That is financial compound interest. But compound interest applies to everything in life. In fact, Albert Einstein said that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. Those that understand it, earn it, and those that don't, pay it. And he was not referring to money. He was referring to skills and character traits and beliefs and things that we can cultivate over our lifetime that over time, if carefully and consistently developed, will transform who we are and how we perform. Why? Because of the nature of feedback loops. Every time you do something, if you look for the feedback and implement what you have learned from that feedback, you transform your practice. And that is what scientists call purposeful practice. Think about this example for a minute. Remember that kid at school that was better than others at basketball? That slightly better ability at basketball could come from being born early in the year and therefore had a few more months of development under his belt other than the other kids. Over time, a sooner development would lead to better plays. Better plays will lead to more exposure and better games. Better games will lead to more opportunities to show his talent. More talent will lead to better accolades, and that reinforcing feedback loop eventually will lead that person, that kid, to be the best in class and even maybe have a career around basketball. It's all about the power of compounding feedback loop. This is compound interest in the context of personal growth and professional development. Michael Phelps, by hiring, in his word, the best coach in history of swimming, Robert Bowman, he was able to have feedback loops working for him every single day and transform average practice into purposeful practice. How many times have you heard that practice makes perfect, or that you need 10,000 hours to master something? That's just not true. It's pop psychology. Research proved that you can master any skill in a somewhat short amount of time if you trigger what they call purposeful practice, which is a practice that, as we just discussed, it is illuminated by feedback loops. In other words, it is getting better over time. An example of this will be the street musician that has been playing the same song for over 20 years, never changing anything on that song, never really trying to push past the circle of competence. Over 20 years, that person has not got better at that song, has got worse at the art of violin playing. On the other hand, that very same person would have tried to improve week on week, to get feedback from the crowd, to try new songs, to improve the repertoire. After 20 years, that person will be a master playing the violin. This is the truth behind purposeful practice. Who you are right now is the results of the systems that you have been following in the past months and years. The habits that you've created, the connections that you've nurtured, the skills that you have learned. You are the result of the compound interest of everything you've done in the past. And if you do not like where you are right now, it's because you have not been consistent on the right things. In other words, you have not triggered purposeful practice of the things that matter the most. If you are overweight, it's because you've not been consistent on building a good body. If you don't have the money you'd like to have, it's because you haven't been consistent on creating a business or pursuing a career that gives you that money. You are the consequence of the compounding that has taken place over the habits, skills, connection, and everything you've done in the past. And this is why consistency is so important, because consistent is the entry point towards purposeful practice. Without consistency, you cannot get feedback from what you're doing. If you change course every few minutes, if you fall for shiny object syndrome, if you create 1,000 businesses on the same year and never really commit to one single course of action, it is very difficult, if not impossible, to trigger purposeful practice on the things that matter most. This is a truth that Michael Phelps intimately understood when he started working with Robert Bowman. It is not what you do one day what creates your life. It is what you do every single day. This is why I always say the best routine for you is the one that you actually follow. A routine that you can consistently perform so you can reap the rewards of compound interest. This is why consistency is so important. Learn to become consistent on the things that matter most, and you will soon get results you never thought were available. And before we leave, are you happy with the position you are right now in your life? What have you compounding the past few months, a year? I would love to know. See you in the next video.